Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the SingerLewak Academy. Today, we are presenting a four-part series, QuickBooks Bootcamp for business owners and entrepreneurs. So this series is brought to you by the Business Solutions Group here at SingerLewak. We're a department within the firm. We also, you could call us BSG, which is the acronym for Business Solutions Group. So I'm really glad that you have been able to join us today. Today's session, part one of this four-part series, is navigating QBO. And so I wanted to also tell you that at the end of this, we'll have a Q&A question, but there is a Q&A box, a Q&A chat area, and we do have someone monitoring that who can answer your questions as we go along. If anything comes up that we think the entire team would benefit from, we'll see if we can include that in our live demonstration. And so feel free, please, to pop in your questions into the chat box. Again, today's part one, navigating QBO. I do want to stress that you can sign up for all sessions, or you can pick and choose which ones you want. I highly recommend, of course, that you attend all four. I want to talk a little bit about how and why we started this series. We came up with this idea because we were having conversations with various clients, with some of our contacts, other consultants, and we do know that as business owners, you focus a lot on your sales, you focus a lot on marketing, public relations, operations, human resources. And we kind of felt that the conversation was a little bit thin when it comes to accounting oversight. So we thought it would be a good idea to present you with some tools that would not only help you keep your finger on the pulse with your accounting and finance, but also provide you with additional internal controls and oversight. So those items, of course, are very important. Today, our discussion is just going to be a chat about quick and easy places to go in QBO to get key information on your customers, suppliers, and banking. Those are kind of just the top three areas. Session two is going to be excellent. It's best practices over your QBO system, how to maximize your actual platform. Session three, I am super excited about. It's basically discussing reports and dashboards and how to make sense of all this information that you get from your accounting data. What does it really mean to you as a business owner? Session four, I am quadruple excited. We're gonna have a panel of folks, key representatives from some cloud accounting platforms. They're going to talk about where are we with AI and cloud accounting today, where it's going. I always think it's a great idea for business owners to stay on top of these type of topics, so that you can take advantage of the resources that are probably already available to you. I wanted to go on to the next slide, please. Really quickly, we want to discuss a little bit about who we are. Again, the Business Solutions Group, BSG. What do? We provide outsourced accounting solutions to businesses. And you notice that we highlighted the word solutions. We do have a joke that solutions is our middle name. And I just want to point out that with all the advances in the virtual environment, particularly in the last year, a lot of small to mid-sized businesses are starting to look more towards outsourcing as a popular solution to streamline their expenses without affecting efficiencies and hopefully getting more accurate accounting and financial reporting. Today's instructors. So we have Joy, who is going to be showing you a live demonstration and going through everything. She is a manager in our department, BSG. Jamie Lavoie is also a manager in our department. She is going to be overseeing the Q&A chat room. And I myself, I'm Laura Buitrago, and I am a director at BSG. So we can go to the next slide where I basically hand this over to Joy Huffman for the live demonstration.
Thanks so much, Laura. I'm super
Joy.
excited to be here and just looking forward to going over this today with all of you. First of all, the first thing I want to talk about is why QBO. We get that question all the time, and I want to talk about that before we even open up QuickBooks Online. Because, you know, the desktop's been around for so long, and oh my gosh, what about, you know, it's online and you hear about security all the time and everything. So specifically, I like the acronym of C because I'm an ocean girl. You know, we live on the coast. And so the S is for security. When you think about a laptop versus online, if I keep my QuickBooks on a laptop and I lose that laptop, I've lost all my financial information. Now, granted, I can go to my bank and get bank statements, but who wants to recreate a year's worth of data or multiple years? So that's one of the things. And with it being online, it's constantly being backed up. And really, honestly, Intuit's whole purpose is security. That's exactly what they have to do because they have lots of books online. That's what they have to do. So security is the first one. Ease. The online version versus the desktop is so much more user-friendly for those who are not accountants. You can come in and it kind of makes some sense where you're going to click around. I'm going to show you a little bit about that today. You don't have to be an accountant or a bookkeeper to be able to navigate QuickBooks Online. There's also a phone app, or you can open it up on an iPad, any place that has internet, which is our A, accessibility. You can get it from any device. You can actually, I've seen people run payroll from their phone. Seriously? So the other reason why I like to use C is because I tell people that when you're sitting on a beach in Fiji, you can pull up your iPad or your phone and quickly look and see where things are at and then get right back to just enjoying your time off. And that's what we want to be able to do, is have that work-life balance. And the one thing I do want to also say about the accessibility is there are over 650 different applications that will integrate with QuickBooks Online. So if you're a manufacturer-based business or a construction-based business, there are all kinds of applications out there that can help you everywhere, everything from time tracking to inventory management to job costing. There's a lot of options that you have that can integrate to QuickBooks Online, and they just all kind of bring in the information, and so then you just use your QuickBooks Online for your reporting and your reconciliations. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into QuickBooks on this. And as Laura said a minute ago, if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat box. We want this to be a learning thing for you, and we want you to be able to have several takeaways for this. So can everyone see my screen okay? They're able to see it? Perfect. Okay, great. So this is the overview of QuickBooks Online. When you first sign in, you have a dashboard that you're looking at. So for business owners, you're not going to do a lot of this setup initially, but I just wanted to explain kind of what you're seeing. For some people, this is way too overwhelming because there's all of these different shortcuts. So we can just hide it if we don't want to see it. So that makes that kind of nice. But really, as a business owner, this part right here, this business overview, this is fantastic. This gives me a very quick kind of snapshot of how different things are doing. We're going to touch more in this on the reports and dashboards, but I wanted you to know that that feature is there, and that's just when you first sign in. So very, very excited about that particular feature right there. You can see where your bank accounts are at, how are my sales doing, my bit of my profit and loss, etc. And you can, as you scroll down, you have other things that you can add in. So if you are using the QuickBooks payroll and time tracking, QuickBooks Time, it used to be called T-Sheets, it's now QuickBooks Time. You can also see this information here. And then you see you've got these links where you can jump right into different things. Every screen in QuickBooks has these like help buttons that you can use. They have ways that you can customize the screen, et cetera, et cetera. So you can connect accounts right from here. So we've got all kinds of hyperlinks. So very, very cool. You can drill down further if you actually want to see what's going on and kind of hover over and just get some quick shots. Okay, that is what our main business overview is. So on to the bit of the navigation. If we are working on setup of QuickBooks or wanting to look at some of the back end of what's happening, we're going to go up to the right-hand side up here, and this is the gear icon. So I'm going to click on that. Here is where you can set up users. You can go into some of your account settings, like if you want to default certain things. Obviously, you can get to your chart of accounts. This is where we would enter, go to get to our recurring transactions. We want to set up a budget tool that we can use so we can run budgets versus actuals. We also have an audit log in here, et cetera, et cetera. So you can see some of the things that are here. One of the things, this is a very kind of a side tip, but just something that really I think is a great idea. You see this order checks thing. I'm not big into selling things within software, but being able to order checks that you can print straight out of QuickBooks, I think is a deal breaker. I recommend that to all of my clients. Okay, so that is our gear. And then if I'm doing any type of transactional form or function inside of QuickBooks, then I'm going to be looking for my new button. So that's the big one over here on the left-hand side. If I click on that, you can see this is where I'm going to have, I have my column of customers. So if I wanted to put in an invoice or a credit memo, you know, if I'm doing a bill for a vendor, if I'm looking at something for timesheet related, or again, a bank deposit, journal entry, stuff like that. Those are the functions part of QuickBooks. This is kind of the meat behind what I'm going to do. So that is what I would use.
Yes. I want to jump in, Joy.
Please.
I will say that as I review clients' accounting, I find myself either going to that gear icon, the new button, or the reports button, which is further down. Those are the three main places I go to. So we wanted to make sure that we pointed these out to you folks, because as business owners, I would imagine you probably, as opposed to going into the weeds, are going to want to just go to the highlights. And these are the places I personally go and see the highlights.
Absolutely. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. So again, we referred to the gear button over here at the top, and then the new button. And then the button that Laura was just referring to is your reporting section. We're going to teach a whole different lesson on reports and dashboards. So we're not going to jump into that a whole lot today, but you need to kind of know where that functionality is, because this is your reporting back. Okay. So how you find things is basically those two main places. Just like the desktop version, there's like 5 different ways to get to every single thing there. So if I wanted to write a check, I can come here and go new and check. Or I could go to expenses and come in here and go to my vendors and write a check. Again, 5 different ways. I could also go to my register and create a check from there. So it really depends on what is the most user-friendly for you. Hopefully as a business owner, you're not writing a lot of checks. You don't have to worry about that. Point is the functionality is there. We're going to talk about sales and customers. We're going to kind of go into this first, because again, we want to be able to take a quick look at things as they are, as we need to, whether it's our invoices or sales, how are we doing, that type of thing. So we're going to go into sales and go to overview. So this is our main screen for our overview. Again, some of this stuff is set up, not something we're necessarily going to be doing once our file is going, but there's some good information here. There's some links that you can use to, you know, get paid anywhere. So they talk about like merchant services if you want to use the Intuit merchant services. One of the nice features about that is if an invoice is sent to a customer, there's a link right inside their email they can click on and pay, and that gets you money faster, that's good for us. We're going to look at the all sales here. Probably one of my favorite features about this is this banner, because as a really quick glance, I can quickly look and see what are my invoices that are overdue, what do I still have open, what am I hoping to collect, and what has actually been paid. So I can quickly kind of do a little bit of mental cash flow so I can see what I'm looking for here. I can also filter this if I wanted to. So I can filter by customers. So if I wanted to see all of Amy's bird information, I can do that. There's other places we can do that as well, because this is QuickBooks, which means we can get there a couple of ways. But this screen is fabulous for giving us an overview on our sales and our customer information. We're going to go ahead and go from here, go into our invoices. So that's just taking it down a level. And you see that bar changes a little bit because we're really focused here on our invoices. You see, we get these pop-ups all the time. We can filter it by date and status. If we're looking for something in particular, we can do that. So again, I can customize by customer if I want to, or I can look at it by date. I can also look at it by status. So what is overdue? So I saw on the previous screen that I had a bunch of information that was overdue. Here's where I can get into the nuts and bolts of it. And I can look at these. So if I have a client that consistently is overdue, I'm going to want to make a note of that and maybe adjust their terms a little bit so we're not going quite so far out to collect our money. So that is our invoices. Anything that you guys have questions about on any one of these screens, please let us know in that Q&A, and we'll go ahead and try to get that answered for you. Now we're going to go ahead and jump over to the customers list. This is if we want to actually know a little bit more about that particular customer. What have we done with them in the past? Do they currently have an open balance just by that particular customer? So if I look at something like Cool Cars here, I can see that they are current and paid up. I can click into this further, which we're going to do, and I can see more detail about them. Again, makes sense. You just kind of follow the clicks and the links and you can get to where you need to go. So here I can see the history of their invoices and payments. I can see when it was due, when they paid it, and what the status is of that particular thing. I can go in here if I had projects set up, which we don't, this is a sample file. But if I was doing job costing and projects, I could go in and look and see what my open projects were. I can get into some customer details. So this is very cool because I can track information about my customers. So obviously I would have addresses and I could have them set up on terms, or if I wanted to track different customer types, I can do all of those things. It's just nice to know that that functionality exists. I can create custom fields and I can do attachments. Attachments are big in QuickBooks Online. I can do attachments to a customer. So if I have something specific like a contract that I want to keep that is for them, or I can attach to a transaction. So for my receipts, and we're going to get into that a little bit more later too, I can do attachments there. There's just a lot of places we can keep that information, which is really, really nice. And then I can look and see if I've had late fees on this particular client. Of course, this is a sample file. I have no late fees. So it's really nice to be able to see what we've got in our sales and our customers. Let's see here. On the, we're going to go ahead and go into our expenses and vendors, unless we have any questions about that in particular. Okay.
Joy, we do have
Yes.
one question.
Yeah, let's do that.
We do have someone who wants you to touch on capacity to link merchant sale with inventory by item. Is that something we can answer, or perhaps we can follow up with this individual?
I think I'd like to follow up a little bit because I want to understand a little bit more about that particular question when you talk about a merchant sale with inventory by item. Because if we're talking about it like a merchant account, or are you talking about a specific vendor? So if you can just clarify either that question, or we can do a follow-up after this, I'd love to be able to answer that for you. So yeah, get back to us on that. Okay, we're going to go into expenses now. So on our expenses, these are all of our expense transactions. And so we're able to, again, kind of take a big, broad look at this. This is not as detailed as our sales and customers. We're really hoping that they'll build this out a little bit more so that it can be. But for right now, this is kind of our expense transactions. And in our vendors, we got our same bar. So we're able to see how much is actually overdue for us to pay out, and how much, what is open, what do I still owe, and then what have I paid out in the last 30 days. Also, if I'm using purchase orders, I'm able to see kind of what I've already committed to. So again, depending on your functionality, you're going to get more information from this. Same type of information as before, where you can sort by the name, you can sort by an open balance if you want to, et cetera, et cetera. And oh, by the way, super easy to create 1099s right outside of QuickBooks. It will actually e-file them for you, et cetera, et cetera. We don't want to spend a lot of time going into that, but you need to know that that functionality is there, and it's all about the setup. So if we have our things set up correctly, which is what really matters, then we can get that kind of taken care of. So I'm going to take a look at one particular vendor in here. So let's go to Diego's Road Warrior. So I'm going to open up this vendor just to kind of show you a little bit of the details. We have a lot of information that we can track as a vendor. We can track phone numbers, mobile numbers. We can put up all kinds of different ways to capture information. If you really want to stalk your vendors, you can take their Twitter account and everything else, okay? So there's a lot of different things that you can do. You can set up default terms in here. So every time we put in a new bill for Diego's Road Warrior, it's going to give us that net 10 or net 30. Also, one of the things that I always recommend to clients is when you're setting up a vendor for a 1099, what you're going to do right here, you're going to put in their business ID number and you're going to say, I want to track this for 1099s. Go ahead and attach that W-9 right in here. So that way you have that information and you don't have to go looking for it at the end of the year. You just kind of take care of those things right as you're going along. That can make it a lot easier. Okay.
Hi, Joy.
Yes.
I have a question because I've done this. The question is, if someone is mislabeled as a customer, but they should be a vendor.
Oh gosh,
is
yeah.
there a way to
Quick? I don't know about quick, but yeah, you can't have somebody on both your vendor and your customer list. So a lot of fixes for that can be, and sometimes you can have all three. So they could be an employee, they could be a vendor, and they could be a customer, right? That's a possibility depending on the type of business that you have. So what I've seen people do is they'll either put like a -C or a -V for vendor. You really don't want to mess around with the name on an employee. So that's the one that needs to stay true for payroll purposes. But you can do some of that. Some people will use a period between the first and last names. So there's some different ways you can do that. So if you have somebody that's on a customer list, really that should be a vendor, you're going to want to either put like a DNU behind it, like a do not use, make it inactive, and then recreate them as a vendor. So that way it's tracking properly for you. So that's probably the best way that I would recommend that. Okay, so we've kind of gone over some of our vendor setup and we've gone over our customer setup. I want to spend a little bit of time in our banking. And so we're going to go there next. Banking is just a really big thing right now. And I have to tell you, they're doing some fabulous updates to this. I've been attending some webinars recently talking about some of the new functionality that's coming out for 2021. So you're going to want to stay tuned and stay in touch with us so that way you can get some of those updates. So there's some great things that are getting ready to come out. And all of it's more about building into more AI and more automation and things like that. So that way it becomes easier on our internal bookkeepers and those people that are doing it. And it's also great for the business owner because as they're looking at things, the information's more caught up. It's a little bit faster. One of the best things about this, and Laura was actually just talking about this the other day, is I can quickly at a glance see what my bank balance is versus what's in QuickBooks. And this right here tells me it was updated moments ago. Well, for me, I'm having a slight little panic attack because I'm a negative $3,600 in my bank balance, right? So let's hope that's not reality. Luckily, this is a sample file. We don't have to worry about that. And in QuickBooks, it's saying I have 1,200. Well, we want those numbers to be a little bit closer, right? So this is one of the things that I like to explain when I'm working with clients. Down here in our bank feed section, this is all of the transactions that haven't necessarily been put into QuickBooks yet. So let's talk about what I mean by that. So in this right here where you can see that this Hicks Hardware, that's fun. Hicks Hardware, there was a check that was actually written in QuickBooks Online and the bank is feeding down and matching that. So that's what this means. Very quick and easy. It found a vendor that has the same name. It found a check that is dated around the same date, and it may even pull that check number for you, which confirms. Now, if you are a business that writes, $20, $150 checks, you really need to pay attention to what the bank is feeding in to make sure you're not matching the wrong things, or we can get ourselves kind of in a bit of a kerfuffle there. But this stuff is matching. For the rest of this, where it says add up here, like to use the analogy that this is purgatory. I use it because everybody understands the concept. What it means is it's not technically yet in the register. So if you are pulling reports, you're not going to see this Books by Bessie transaction because it's not anywhere yet. The bank has pushed that transaction down and is saying, hey, this is cleared and we need to put it into our register. Okay. Now for the ones, again, the matches, those are actually there. But for the rest of these, they're in purgatory. We haven't decided which way they're going yet, okay? All right, so what I'm gonna do is, if I'm the internal bookkeeper, I can come in here and just match these transactions. So I can quickly do that and bring those in. I can also batch do that. So if I have a whole bunch of these that match and I feel pretty confident about it, I can grab a bunch of them and accept them, and they're gonna just go straight into my register. For these, I'm going to want to dig into that information and make sure it's categorized. Now, we know some great, quick and easy tips. So I have people come to us all the time, at the end of the year and go, gosh, I did no bookkeeping. How am I supposed to do that? Well, that's one of the things that we do. We have some very fast, quick ways to import information for you to help you get caught up. We would love to talk to you about that offline. So if you're interested, please reach out to us because I'd love to be able to go over that in a little more detail. So if I am going to categorize this, you just kind of need to know what the functionality is here. This A1 rental is not currently pulling up a payee. See how above here Books by Bessie is? So the bank name is pulling Books by Bessie, and since QBO is a learning software, it's going, hey, I think this is the same. And so it's giving us a suggested payee for that. In this case, A1 rental back something, it's there's not one. So we don't have anything that's even close to that particular name. So we want to add that particular vendor in. And I can do that by quickly typing, or a quick tip that I saw earlier. See down here, it says A1 rental backhoe. I can quickly copy and paste that and then add it in as a customer. No, we're paying this money out. Oh no, this is received. Sorry, yes, this is money coming in from a customer, and save. Okay, so I've now added them in to my customer list. So now it's going to assign that information there. My category, that's one of my chart of accounts. That's where I'm going to actually put this information. So if a rental of a Patco, it's probably something like an equipment rental, right? So I can do a quick typing if I have my fingers on the right place of the screen and just type a few letters, and it will show me the different areas of equipment rental that I can put it in. So you can see I have equipment repairs here, which is this sub account of a maintenance. That's probably not what I'm doing. This might actually be for a job. So I would want to know what I'm putting in here, but that's a good potential of what's happening. But in this case, I'm going to assume that this is for that job. And I'm going to go ahead and put equipment rental there. Okay. Tags, we're not going to get into a lot. It's another quick way to filter for information. It's not the same as a class list. You can't run all reports on it. Some you can, some you can't. But tags are kind of a quick answer to get around the class list for those of you who are really big into it. So it can be another way of filtering or being able to quickly grab a bunch of transactions, like if you have a short-term thing that you want to be able to track. This memo, this is literally just kind of the bank feed information that came in. Now down here, I mentioned earlier the adding attachments. This is a fabulous feature. So you can attach the bill or the invoice right to this particular transaction. So when you're looking for information historically, it'll become a part of it. There's some amazing features that QuickBooks Online has. One of them is a receipt capture where you can literally take a picture from your phone. You'd have the phone app on there, take a picture of it, and it's going to put it into a little receipts bucket, again, a purgatory, and then you can attach it to a transaction. So you've got some just some great ways to be able to quickly do that without necessarily having to scan every single thing in. So that's good for us to know about. Or you can scan the information in and have that bring in. A lot of times nowadays, most of our bills are coming for our business owners, they're coming in through the email. More and more that's happening. People are trying to save on postage and not having to send paper. And so we can just take that PDF and just pull that right on over. This is where we can come in here and create rules. We're going to talk about that in our next session. We're not going to get into that a whole lot. I can also do exclusions. I mean, again, we don't want to get too much in the weeds here, but we do want to let you know what some of these informations are. I can look at the categorization history of that. So if I wanted to see where have I put this particular vendor or customer in the past, I can kind of take a look at it and see some information historically. So that can help me, kind of take a look at that. All right. And I can go ahead and add this transaction if I want to. Okay. So I have that ability to be able to do this straight from Purgatory and get those transactions in there. The nice thing about that, what that does is when it puts it into my bank register, which we're going to go to next, it'll put a little C next to it, which means it's cleared. So I've already started on my bank reconciliation. Makes my month-end bank reconciliations a breeze. Okay. So those are our bank fees. That's a really big overview of our banking here. You can see I've got multiple accounts. So what we really want to do as business owners is we want to have our checking account connected. We want to have our credit cards connected because we don't want to necessarily have somebody have to data enter all that information, right? So if my American Express is connected here, then I'm able to just go ahead and bring those transactions in pretty quickly without having to go through a lot of extra time and detail. And we're all about saving money and making money, right? If this was not updated and there's some kind of a link breakage, you can click on update up here and it'll go ahead and do that. If I get a new credit card, I can link another account, et cetera, et cetera. There's all kinds of things that I can do here. And again, you've got places that it'll tell you to do that. We can filter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of information that is right here that we're just not going to go into for today.
Hey,
So
Joanne.
yes.
One other quick question that we've hit. When you're pointing out how we have bank feeds and savings and MasterCard, we can also get feeds from outside sources similar to Square and PayPal, correct?
Yes. Very good question. Yes. So you can also connect your PayPal account. You can connect, if Square is one of your merchant accounts out of there, and Square does payroll. I just heard that recently. So there's all kinds of things that you can connect. Now, you wouldn't connect your payroll right here, but the point is any kind of bank or credit card type account you can connect here. And that's, so it's a great way to stay on top of everything because again, you're going to see what the bank balance is according to the bank, and then you're going to see what the balance is according to QuickBooks. We're going to go.
One other quick shout out on this. We've gotten quite a few questions relating to inventory, links to items, perpetual inventory. So anybody that's hit one of those, I think I've kicked you down to say, let's talk about it at the end.
Yes.
Because a lot kind of depends on how deep you're really getting into an inventory item. So
right.
We're tabling that for the end, and we may end up touching base individually on some items like that. So that was just a shout out.
Perfect. Okay, great. There's a lot of questions about inventory. Just in general, how do we set it up and stuff? So yeah, I'd love to be able to go over some of that if we have some time today. And if not, again, let's definitely follow up. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go to our bank register now. So I'm going to click on that. And inside of our bank register, you see how they have all these pop-ups all the time? I went through here and tried to get rid of as many of them as I can, but it likes to teach us. So it's not a bad thing. It'll tell you how to filter and look for information. So I'm going to go ahead and close that for right now. So this is my register. Some people like to just put their transactions in here, directly from here. And if I want to do that, I can click on this little button here and add a check or a deposit right here. So if I'm a person who likes to just look at the register and take a quick look, I can do some of those functionalities. Again, sortable information. So if I'm looking for a specific payee, or if I want to see what's cleared and what hasn't, I absolutely can do that from here. Lots of ways to filter information, et cetera, et cetera. So this is our register. We can see if we hover over, you saw how I hovered over that split, you can see from Hicks Hardware what the breakdown is of that particular check. So if I'm trying to remember what that 228.75 is comprised of, I can quickly do that.
Can you show really quickly again how to get to the register?
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and go back a screen. So if I wanted to go back to the chart of accounts, that's what this is here, but I actually just want to go back a screen. So I'm going to do that instead. So from my bank feeds right here, this banking tab that I was in, I literally can just click on go to bank register right here in the middle of the page. Okay. And that's how I got there.
That is an excellent question, and I want to explain why. A lot of times for our clients, they ask us questions about banking transactions, and I just find myself coming right here to this bank register to answer their questions. I'm going to say this happens a few times a week. So
Yes.
I'm really excited to share this with you business owners. Not that we don't want you asking questions, but for some of you, you have these questions at the middle of the night. It's good to know that you have the information easily at your fingertips as well.
You're not calling your bookkeeper at 7 o'clock at night asking what this check is for, right? So perfect, perfect. From here, I can, as we talked about, go through my register, take a look at different information, kind of drill down as I need to. Also, one of the things that as a business owner, I want to keep my eye on is the reconciliation information. So again, right from this screen, I can click on reconcile, this big green button up here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. This will bring me into the screen where my bookkeeper would be coming in and doing the bank reconciliations. And again, this will give us all kinds of information here if we just take a minute to look at these pop-ups. So if I want to look at previous reconciliation, I can come here and go a history by account and look and see when it was last reconciled. I can drill down into this, and this is a PDF. This is the thing that I like the most about this. It's a PDF of it. It's not a live feed. So if something got changed after the fact, which unfortunately occasionally can happen because you're talking about data entry, it'll keep a picture in time of what actually happened at that point. So that part is actually really great. I'm going to click on this down here, and what I will be able to see in clicking into the historical information is all of the information that would be from my bank statement, everything that is cleared, also what's uncleared. So I've got the list of all the things that cleared, all my deposits, but also what didn't clear. And then again, you can see it's a live feed and I can go in there. So as a business owner, when I'm taking a look at this and I know I'm reconciled through the end of March, I know I'm going to probably keep an eye on this particular check right here that didn't clear from February. Now, it may be just because Chen's Glass and Oil hasn't gone to the bank yet. That's a possibility. But in some cases, is it a lost check? What's going on? I can quickly make some decisions just based on looking at a screen, which is what we want to be able to do. So I'm going to go ahead and go back.
Can I jump in really quick,
go ahead,
Joy?
Please.
I get asked a lot by business owners,
Mhm.
what can I do better for my accounting department in terms of internal controls? And one of the first things we ask, or I ask for sure, is, are you reviewing your bank reconciliations? I think it is important for you to know where to find them, and not so much have one printed by your accountant or bookkeeper, but to go into the source and get the information yourself and review it. And Joy just brought up something excellent. When I review my clients' bank recs, I actually check to make sure that the register balance ties to the register, but then I go straight down to uncleared checks or uncleared deposits, because I want to see what is in there and how old it is. And like she said, maybe Chin whatnot has not gone to the bank yet. And that's possible. So I keep my eye out on it. Deposits, those are usually do not stay in transit for too long. So if I see a deposit from, let's say, January, I know something was double booked or something was entered incorrectly. And so that comes up all the time.
That money is never making it to the bank.
Exactly. So your sales was double counted. We can go on, and probably even some of you attendees have had these conversations with me in the past. So I do want to point out, I'm very excited that Joy has shown this to you, because I do think it's a strong internal control that a lot of business owners don't necessarily have.
That's great. Thank you. I want to show you, I'm going to kind of intentionally break something here a little bit, because one of the things that I want to show you is what happens if something gets changed after the fact. Okay. So what happens if we go in and change a check number or whatever? How would I even begin to know that? Because we've given you a snapshot in time. So I'm going to go back into my bank register to get there. And remember how I told you, you can filter different ways. I'm intentionally, because of what I'm going to do, I'm going to filter this by the things that have been reconciled and cleared. So I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to find something reconciled. And this check to Tony, I'm going to change the amount on this. Now, why would I do this? I have no idea, but you know what? Life happens sometimes. Sometimes I accidentally open the wrong transaction. So if I click on that particular transaction and I'm in here, if for some reason I was going through information quickly or whatever, something happened, I changed this. Let's actually change it the other way. Let's go 85. Okay, so instead of 100, it's changed now to 85. I'm going to go ahead and save and close this. Okay, now if I'm click happy like I just was, I missed the fact that it said that transaction's been reconciled and it's going to change the balance of your bank. Well, you know what? I've got a lot of stuff I'm doing. The phone was ringing. There's all kinds of things happening. Life happens sometimes, okay? So how am I supposed to track that as a business owner? How am I going to know that somebody went in and actually did that? Let's go back and take a look. So if I click on that reconcile button again to get to that particular screen, there's two ways it tells me. First of all, it's going to tell me, hang on, your beginning balance is off by $15. That means something has changed from when I last did my bank reconciliation. They'll tell me that they can help me fix it. Okay, so that's one way. The other way is if I go into that history by account, you see how I see that change? The only way that change goes away is if this is completely undone and redone. Which is going to be super exciting. So you're going to want to stick around and go this. A couple of things I wanted to tell you about that are new, that are coming. About 3,000 banks right now will allow you to import the bank statement. Wells Fargo just joined the list. So if you're a Wells Fargo person, they just joined. We're pushing for Chase. But you can actually go to the bank and get that bank statement and make it part of your QuickBooks Online. So you would have the documentation right in there. So they're getting more and more of that information all the time. So that's absolutely important for you to know as a business owner, so you can take a quick look at that bank statement if you need to. Laura, I think my time is just about up. I can't believe that. But
you did very well, Joy.
Thank you. I hope everybody got to learn something today, and I'll hand it back to you.
All right, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that. And I do want to point out with this bank feed, just one more thing to point out about it. We'll get to that in a second. I like to look at the bank feed as a way to monitor how far along the accountant has gone in with the monthly accounting. So it also gives you a snapshot of what accounting transactions are still outstanding and what's still left to go. A few things we want to get to, some announcements before we go to question and answers. If we could pull up the PowerPoint again, please, get that up. Hopefully that's up. And so I want to point out that we do have a BSG LinkedIn page. I have here a QR code, and apparently you can actually use your QR code reader right now on your phones and point it up to your screen right now. It'll take you to basically our LinkedIn page. It only works if you have the app on your phone, the LinkedIn app on your phone. However, you can always search for us under SingerLewak Business Solutions Group, and just don't forget BSG, Business Solutions Group. We always have some great information up there. We post information on latest business and accounting trends, other current information. I do want to point out that we do actually have a podcast. There are a few episodes out already that have been recorded. The podcast itself is called The Fran Factor, and I actually speak on the podcast, and then another partner here at the firm who has extensive experience in finance and operations. So I think, hopefully we can give you guys some additional information from a business perspective. We do have episodes such as what makes a business bankable, current business trends. We have 2 podcasts on that where we talk about what we see out there with businesses. So check us out. We think that it'll be beneficial to you. If we go to the next slide, again, I know Joy just gave you a teaser for the next session, which is best practices. The invitation for that will come out this Friday, along with a recording of this presentation. I also put here, we have the contact information for the presenters of today. Please reach out to us with any questions. I know, Jamie, you have some questions in the chat room, and so stick around and maybe we could all learn something more from those.
Thanks, Laura. So I'm going to open up a couple of the questions that we received. I hope Lonnie's still here, because here's your question. The question was, can you charge credit cards for all open balances in AR at one time without going into each account? What's your practical experience and thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, I had muted myself. So you're talking about charge credit cards for all open balances in AR at one time. So you're talking about receiving a payment from a client for like 3 invoices at once is what you're kind of talking about.
No, actually, I maybe misinterpreted this. Mm-hmm. Assuming we have all of the credit card information on file for the clients and to go through the automated process of billing. It's always been my understanding, that you have to hit a transactional at a time, but is there a batch?
There are some batch actions if you have an Intuit Merchant Services account. Jamie, I'm sorry if I interrupted you there. So there are some batch actions that you can do. There's batch invoicing. And I do believe in some of those cases, we would have to get into it a little bit more because it does depend on your merchant service account. And I hate to tell you that something is a capability that it isn't. But yes, you should be able to do like those recurring transactions, which would include recurring payments. So if you're set up in a situation where like we charge $150 every single month to the same client over and over and over again, then yes, you should be able to automate those features. And we would want to work with the merchant services team with Intuit to make sure that that's set up correctly. So there's definitely some capability there. And if not, there are third-party applications that do integrate with QBO that also do that same kind of thing. I've worked with a couple of those businesses where they can run those for you and do the auto charging and auto invoicing. So yeah, it's good to know that that's out there, that we can do that.
I do have already see folks asking about the QR code.
So in case you missed it, Joy sounds like she's expert on this. Reach out to her. We got quite a few questions.
So can I jump in? I do see questions about the QR code. So just to, thank you so much for wanting to follow us on LinkedIn. If you scan the QR code, I'm actually doing it right now, and then you basically say open in browser. You click on open in browser, and then it'll say it is unavailable. It'll say continue to app. Then you click on continue to app. It takes you right to the BSG page. If you folks have any issues after this, just email me and we'll get you connected.
Right. I think also quite a few questions were coming in. It's a very detailed topic. I personally think inventory in QuickBooks only is rivaled by payroll in QuickBooks
As far
for
as
making having to have details set up in detail. So I think if the team doesn't mind, if anybody has had any questions on inventory that we haven't touched on, and we haven't touched on any of them really, please reach out to us individually, and
Yeah.
we'll get you guys hooked up with some smart answers. Okay, we have one more question. How does the receipt forwarding via email under banking work?
Ooh, you have to come to the next class to learn that. That's when we're going to go through that. We're going to go through that receipt capture a little bit more in our next class. So stay tuned.
We have to leave you folks with a little sweetener. We want to see you again.
That's right.
All right. So with that, thank you. I think, we're right up in the last few minutes. If there are no other questions, again, feel free to reach out to us, follow us on LinkedIn. We hope to see you at the next one. Again, the email along with a recording is coming out this Friday, a recording of this session. So I do see, of course, some more questions popping in. Oh, no, it's just comments. Okay, thank you so much for attending, everyone. We really appreciate you. Hope to see you at the next one, and have a good rest of the day.
Bye.
Bye.